Recently, it was revealed that a Chinese vessel had cut undersea cables in the Baltic Sea. Now, another Chinese ship has been reported to have damaged undersea cables near Taiwan. This time, the target is Taiwan directly. On January 4th, Taiwan's Coast Guard Administration issued a press release. It said that on January 3rd at 7:45 a.m., 4 cores of an international undersea cable northeast of Yelu were damaged. The damaged cable is part of a trans-Pacific high-speed cable system. The initial assessment suggests that the damage was caused by the Shunxing 39, a Cameroon-flagged cargo ship, dragging its anchor while passing through the area. After the incident, Chunghua Telecom, which monitors the cable, activated emergency backup response. They rerouted connections to other international cable stations, allowing services for all customers to quickly return to normal. Taiwanese officials said that even though the ship sails under the Cameroon flag, it is owned by Jieyang Trading Limited, a company registered in Hong Kong. This company is owned by Guo Wenjie, a Chinese citizen. Marine Traffic, a ship tracking and maritime analysis provider, showed data indicating that Shunxing 39 has been sailing back and forth near Taiwan's northern coast since early last month. The ship has been anchoring near the location where the cable broke. Taiwan's Liberty Times reported that after being notified, the Taiwan Coast Guard dispatched ships to the scene, instructing Shunxing 39 to return to the waters outside Keelung Port for investigation. However, due to bad weather, officials could not board the ship and could only conduct an external inspection. Coast Guard officials said, "Since we couldn't question the captain, we've asked South Korean authorities to assist with the investigation when the ship reaches its next port." Taiwan's national security officials confirmed the ship is expected to arrive in Busan, South Korea, in the coming days. Taiwanese media mapped out the undersea's cables and the route taken by the Chinese cargo ship. The map clearly shows that the Chinese ship targeted the cables. A senior national security official from Taiwan said, "This cable damage isn't just an accident. It's another concerning example of the global trend of undersea cable sabotage. The ships involved in these incidents are usually old and barely engaged in legitimate business. This ship, the Shunxing 39, is in very poor condition, similar to Russia's Shadow Fleet vessels." Since 2022, there have been several disruptions to power cables, telecom links, and gas pipelines. Baltic countries have been on high alert for potential sabotage. Last November, 2 Baltic cables connecting Finland to Germany and Sweden to Lithuania were cut in Swedish waters. A Chinese bulk carrier, the Yipeng 3, was quickly identified and wanted by Swedish authorities. These incidents happened in Sweden's exclusive economic zone, and Swedish prosecutors are leading the investigation on suspicion of sabotage. At the time, the Chinese ship's captain allegedly dragged the anchor over 100 miles intentionally. Western intelligence officials from multiple countries believe that Chinese ships were responsible for cutting the cables. At the end of last year, an undersea power cable connecting Finland and Estonia was cut. Finnish authorities detained a Russian oil tanker that had departed from Russia. The repeated damage to undersea cables has alarmed Western countries. They worry that Russia, with the help of the Chinese Communist Party, is engaging in what the White House calls hybrid warfare. However, the Kremlin denies this. Politico reported that since Russia invaded Ukraine 3 years ago, such gray zone tactics have increased significantly. Beijing and Moscow are testing the West's ability to defend against hybrid aggression. On January 6, Taiwanese legislator Shen Po-yang said, "This incident is related to the CCP's escalation of gray zone warfare against Taiwan, which seriously impacts Taiwan's national security." Legislator Cheng Guangqing suggested that relevant departments strengthen their initial response, including monitoring key cable areas, intercepting and inspecting ships, and detaining suspicious vessels. According to data provided by legislator Huang Shenhan during an inquiry in October 2024, undersea cables between Taiwan and the Matsu Islands have been damaged nearly 30 times by Chinese ships over the past 5 years. Chinese vessels have practiced undersea cable sabotage nearly 30 times in Taiwanese waters. However, they seem confident in their skills and are using this as an asymmetric warfare tactic. Other countries seem unprepared for such rogue attacks by the CCP. Let's examine the Yipeng 3 incident. On December 19, 2024, Danish Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen said that after the Chinese bulk carrier Yipeng 3 cut the Baltic Sea cable, weeks of intense secret negotiations allowed representatives from Germany, Sweden, Finland, and Denmark to board the Chinese vessel for inspection. Chinese officials were also allowed to board. It's important to note that Chinese officials were allowed to board the ship. Lars Løkke Rasmussen said, "It is our expectation that once the inspection has been completed by this group of people from the 4 countries, the ship will be able to sail towards its destination." According to the Wall Street Journal, Swedish and Chinese diplomats held intense secret negotiations for several weeks during the investigation. Swedish police issued a statement saying that the actions taken on December 19th aboard the ship were not part of Sweden's initial investigation. They boarded only as observers, while Chinese authorities conducted what they called an investigation. Since the incident occurred in Sweden's exclusive economic zone, Swedish prosecutors are leading the investigation on suspicion of sabotage. At the time of the incident, the Chinese ship, commanded by a Chinese captain, allegedly dragged its anchor for over 100 miles. This caused the Sea Lion 1 internet cables connecting Finland to Germany and Sweden to Lithuania to be severed in Swedish waters. The Wall Street Journal reported that China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs denied any sabotage and expressed willingness to cooperate. An investigator and a diplomat familiar with the negotiations said that Beijing seemed eager to resolve the issue quickly. Western intelligence officials from several countries believe that Chinese ships were responsible for cutting the 2 cables. German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius said he believed the damage was intentional. On December 6, Lithuanian President Gitanas Nausėda shared a similar view, suggesting the undersea cables were likely cut deliberately. On December 23, 2024, Swedish Foreign Minister Maria Malmer Stenergard said that despite China's promise to cooperate with regional authorities, Beijing refused to let Swedish prosecutors board the Chinese cargo ship Yipeng 3 for inspection. In a statement to AFP, Stenergard said, "Swedish police have been on board as observers in connection with the Chinese investigation. At the same time, I note that China has not heeded our request for the prosecutor to conduct an investigation on board." Swedish prosecutor Henrik Soderman told AFP that no investigative steps under Swedish jurisdiction, such as questioning the crew or conducting technical inspections, were carried out on board. John Alkberg, head of the Swedish Accident Investigation Authority, said they boarded the ship not as a part of a criminal investigation, but as observers. They had 3 representatives on board who spoke with the crew and gathered information. Alberg explained that their job was simply to collect materials and see what conclusions could be drawn. The prosecutor, who was not allowed to board, said he had no details about the information the accident investigation team collected. Stenergard reiterated our request that Swedish prosecutors, along with the police and others, be allowed to take certain investigative measures within the framework of the investigation on board remains. We have been clear with China on this. Vessel tracking site Vessel Finder showed that on December 21, 2024, Yipeng 3 left the strait and sailed north. On December 23, Beijing confirmed the ship had departed. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning said, "To ensure the crew's physical and mental well-being, the ship owner decided to resume the voyage after evaluating the situation and consulting with relevant parties." Chinese state media, bloggers, and nationalist commentators celebrated. Articles flooded the internet with headlines like, "The undersea cable incident ends. Europe releases Yipeng 3. How China's diplomacy turned the situation around." And Yipeng 3 resumes voyage. Sweden and Denmark let it go. Lithuania's plans foiled again. Nationalists mocked the situation, saying, "To put it simply, we agreed to the investigation, but only by us. Sweden and others can watch as observers while China handles the investigation." Some propagandists even tried to drive a wedge between the US and the EU, saying the Yipeng 3 incident shows that the EU is different from our enemy, the United States. The EU has no fundamental conflict of interest with us. This is another major diplomatic victory for China. From this entire incident, it's clear that EU countries' investigation into China's ships was a failure. This isn't a case of not finding enough evidence during the investigation. The truth is, no effective investigation was ever conducted. The so-called investigation was essentially cancelled during the consultations between the EU countries and China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Not only did these consultations fail to hold Chinese ships accountable, but they also allowed China to walk away as the apparent winner. This gave the Chinese government another chance to spin the situation for domestic propaganda. And the consequences followed quickly. Just days after the Yipeng 3 was released, another undersea power cable between Finland and Estonia was damaged. On December 25th, local time, Grid operator FinGrid reported that after the undersea cable was damaged, the 658 MW S-Link 2 power interconnector was offline. Only the 358 MW S-Link 1 remained operational between Finland and Estonia. A FinGrid spokesperson told Finnish media, "We haven't ruled anything out. We're turning over every stone to find out what caused this. Yes, sabotage is a possibility." Finnish police issued a statement saying they're working with border guards and other authorities to investigate the incident and its ripple effects. Investigators are looking into the potential involvement of a foreign vessel. Police did not disclose the ship's name. The maritime executive reported that potential targets of the investigation might include the Chinese container ship Xinxiantian 2 and the Eagle S, an oil tanker flying the Cook Islands flag. Both ships were near the area when the cable was cut. Xinxiantian 2 was in the region at the time. As of the evening of December 25th, the Chinese ship has not changed course or speed and continues sailing in the Baltic Sea. Eagle S had last stopped at the Russian port Ust-Luga. AIS data showed the vessel slowed down over the cable during the incident. The oil tanker then circled around, left, and stopped waters. The Coast Guard patrol ship joined the tanker's path, indicating that Eagle S may have been intercepted. Public intelligence analysts noted that Turva was also involved in the response to the Yipeng 3 incident in November. Interestingly, the timeline shows that the Yipeng 3 left a Russian port and cut the undersea cable around November 15, 2024, just about 10 days after Donald Trump was re-elected as U.S. president. During this period, Trump triggered a series of intense diplomatic shifts. On election night, he vowed to end the Russia-Ukraine war quickly. Russian President Vladimir Putin responded positively through indirect channels. Ending the war in Ukraine would significantly alter China's strategic relationship with Russia. If Russia shifts away from conflict with the West, China could quickly move from being an ally to becoming a rival. The already fragile China-Russia partnership could unravel. For Russia, Trump's election offers a rare opportunity to change course. But for China, if Russia mends ties with the West, China risks becoming the sole adversary of the West. Trump's signals could be catastrophic for Beijing. In this context, China hurried to launch unrestricted warfare against EU countries by cutting undersea cables, demonstrating full support for Russia. Russia, in turn, saw this as a useful bargaining chip for ceasefire negotiations. For the 4 EU countries involved in the Yipeng 3 incident, Lithuania emerged as the unexpected winner. Despite being perceived by China as the weakest, Lithuania struck back. On November 29, 2024, Lithuania's Ministry of Foreign Affairs announced the expulsion of 3 Chinese embassy staff, declaring them persona non grata. They were ordered to leave the country. Lithuania did not specify the exact reasons, but cited activities that violated the Vienna Convention and Lithuanian laws. On November 27th, Lithuania announced that it was forming a joint investigative team with Sweden and Finland, supported by Eurojust, the EU's judicial cooperation agency, to investigate the cable sabotage. One of the severed cables stretched from Sweden's Gotland Island to Lithuania. Lithuania expelled Chinese diplomats during the same period that the 4 countries and China's foreign ministry were consulting on the cable sabotage. This shows that Lithuania didn't need to wait for investigation results. They likely already knew the outcome. Based on intelligence and their understanding of China's behavior, Lithuania responded directly and appropriately. Their decision was the most logical and correct action to take. Lithuania's response also set an example for other countries that were humiliated by China. Perhaps Lithuania's economic weakness means it has fewer entanglements with China, allowing it to stand more independently and confidently in its confrontations with Beijing. Now, let's turn our attention to East Asia. If China's previous sabotage of undersea cables in the Baltic Sea was an attempt to win Russia's favor, the January 3rd incident, where the Shenzhen 39 dragged its anchor in Taiwanese waters, was a direct action targeting Taiwan. In our earlier programs, we analyzed how the period around Trump's inauguration is the riskiest time for the Taiwan Strait. China might take this opportunity to launch unrestricted warfare against Taiwan, with the ultimate goal of undermining the Taiwanese government. Recently, Taiwanese influencers Ba Zhong and Cheng Bo-yuan released a 2-part documentary on China's infiltration efforts targeting Taiwan. The documentary, which was made at great personal risk, exposed shocking details about Beijing's attempts to influence various sectors in Taiwan. Zhong and Chen Boyuan appeared on the Taiwan Plus program, revealing explosive new details. Ba Zhong claimed to have a list of military officers, including commanders and generals, who have sold Taiwanese military secrets to China. The list, several pages, was provided by an informant. Ba Zhong said he shared the list with more than 20 trusted friends and family members. If anything happens to them, the list will be made public. For now, they're holding onto it as leverage. In addition to this, Ba Zhong claimed to possess lists of Chinese agents operating in Hong Kong, Macau, Singapore, and Malaysia. Despite the threats to their lives from filming the documentary, Ba Zhong and Chen Boyuan expressed no regrets. Chen said he had previously done things that harmed Taiwan, and now he feels the need to make sacrifices and offer something valuable to warn the people of Taiwan. On this channel, we previously analyzed that China may have been involved in the recent political crisis in South Korea, possibly using it as a rehearsal for similar actions aimed at Taiwan. Ba Zhong's revelations suggest that China's infiltration extends globally, making South Korea's sudden turmoil unlikely to be coincidental. Recently, retired U.S. Colonel John Mills revealed that China is stirring up unrest in South Korea. He learned from Dr. Tara Oh at the East Asia Research Center that Chinese nationals participated in the protests. He noted that between 1/3 and 2/3 of the protesters who opposed martial law in South Korea had flown in from China. Mills said that South Korea's opposition Democratic Party has deep ties to China. The party's leader, Lee Jae-myung, was recently convicted of corruption. Lee has consistently criticized the U.S. military presence in South Korea, calling American forces an occupying army and advocating for the removal of the THAAD missile defense system. Earlier, Reuters reported that on January 3rd, presidential security and military personnel guarding South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol's residence confronted law enforcement officers attempting to arrest him. The standoff lasted about 6 hours. Yoon's supporters even waved American flags outside the presidential residence, hoping to draw the attention of President-elect Donald Trump. As of now, Yoon Suk-yeol has not been arrested by opposition forces aligned with China. He has vowed to resist and fight to the end. The sacrifices made by Ba Zhong and Chen Boyuan offer hope for Taiwan. Meanwhile, China's sabotage of undersea cables in the Taiwan Strait has exposed Beijing's true nature to the world.